All right, guys. Well, I'm down at the range today comparing the 338 ARC to the 300 Blackout. We're going to be testing subsonic ammo head-to-head, supersonic ammo head-to-head. We're also going to be doing impact tests and barrier penetration tests, and then summarize after that on my thoughts on the brand new 338 ARC. Now, if you're interested in a very high-value option for a complete upper assembly, definitely check out the review I did on Palmetto State Armory's brand new 338 ARC upper that comes in at a high-value price. But enough talking, let's put these two guys head to head with equal platforms and see how they perform. So we understand what we are shooting. The subsonic ammo will both be from AAC. The 338 ARC, which you see right here, will actually be the 300 grain hollow point boat tail traveling at 1,000 feet per second. And then the AAC 300 Blackout will also be 220 grain traveling at 1,000 feet per second boat tail hollow point. So very similar rounds. Now for the supersonic, we'll be running the 338 ARC with the Hornady black ammunition. And for the supersonic, we'll be running the Saber black tip. So similar style cartridges for the supersonic as well. Now let's get into the test. First up will be the recoil impulse test. We are just going to fire 2 rounds very quickly and feel the recoil. Now both of these are going to be coming out of an 8.5-inch barrel from a PSA complete upper to try to compare apples to apples. We are using a different brace system, but that just kind of is what it is. But let's fire 300 Blackout first and immediately fire 338 ARC to see if we notice a recoil difference. Now for the supersonic ammo, first 300 Blackout. .338 ARC. Well, there's definitely a noticeable difference between 300 Blackout recoil and 338 ARC recoil, both in subsonic and in supersonic ammo. It's much more controllable to fire that 300 Blackout, whether it is super or subs. It just stays on target a lot better and a lot easier, and there is definitely a noticeable functional difference. Now we'll be doing impact tests on jugs of water, and we're going to start off with subsonic ammo, move to supersonic ammo, always starting with 300 Blackout during these tests, and then moving up to 338 ARC, all at a self-defense distance of about 7 yards. Let's take some shots. So here's our impact right there, and there is our exit. So we did get some slight expansion right there, but again, this was a little lackluster. You know, it's a subsonic 300 Blackout. Let's try the 338 ARC. Oh, yeah. Big difference. Split the back, a lot more pressure on impact. And man, that's what you want to see for a defensive or hunting cartridge. So it's got a lot more recoil, but it does do the job. Let's move on to supersonic. Supersonic 300 Blackout. Now that right there is pretty darn effective. Again, Saber black tip 125 grain. Now for the ARC. This one split the back open really well too, but I have a feeling the rounds are a little bit different, and that could be playing a factor in the performance up close. Now the 300 Blackout was actually Saber black tip, so it had a polymer tip. This was going to be the Hornady with that smaller hollow point tip. So we could be seeing the effects from that. I just unfortunately don't have any AAC to compare it head to head, but let's move on to the barrier test. Next up, we're going to be firing supersonic then subsonic through the back of this truck bed at a water jug, and I'll show you guys the results. First up, 300 Blackout. So there was our impact. It did go through the truck bed and it hit right here. It put a pretty decent hole, and then it had enough force to still blow out the back of this and escape the water jug. So 300 Blackout subsonic, still pretty darn good through a barrier test. Now the 338 ARC. Oh, you see a lot more steam coming up. There's our impact. Oh, and here is our jug. There, entered right at the bottom and just completely blew out the back and got water everywhere. Much more devastating impact, even through that barrier. Subsonic load 338 arc. Now supersonic. Impact through the truck bed, had no problem going through, and man, it held together and obliterated that water jug. Really excited about the arc now. There's the impact hole, the arc. It entered right there, so it actually held together through the barrier. I bet it almost collapsed the hollow point in on itself because it wasn't that large ballistic tip, but there is the exit wound. So it seems like the rounds are definitely playing a factor, but the 3.3 arc absolutely packs a punch and really does well through barriers. Let's head back to the tabletop and go over a little bit more. All right, guys, well, I'm back from the range, and we're going to dig a little bit more into the 300 Blackout versus 338 arc debate. We're going to talk about some of that energy on target and recoil management that we saw down at the range, but we're also going to shift the conversation to different things like pricing, availability, ease of use, and modularity. But let's start off with that kind of energy on target and recoil management and compare and contrast both. Both supersonic and subsonic 338 arc had substantially more recoil than 300 Blackout. 300 Blackout feels very much like shooting a 5.56 with a well-tuned gun. You can easily keep shots on target. With 338 arc, you definitely know you're pulling the trigger on something bigger, but in return, you get 1.5 times the amount of energy as you do for a 300 Blackout, so you have to weigh the pros and cons. Is this going to be a single shot gun where you're taking one shot at a live animal in a hunting application? If so, then the 338 arc takes it with no issues whatsoever. Even one or two shots on follow-up shots are very controllable when it comes to 338 arc. With that being said, if you're in a deer stand and you're maybe going after hogs or coyotes or something like that, and you may be needing a lot of follow-up shots while you're transitioning from target to target, or something's running across a field, the 300 Blackout may be a touch better because the recoil impulse is much more controllable and it allows you to get those follow-up shots on target. But again, if you're firing at a large hog and you really want to take it down in one shot, it's going to be hard to beat that 338 arc, but I'll leave that to debate for you guys down in the comment section below. Let's shift to pricing. Pricing is definitely going to be something to consider. Let's talk about supersonic ammo first. Supersonic 300 Blackout ammo is going to be about half the price of 338 arc. And a subsonic 300 Blackout is going to be about a third cheaper than the subsonic 338 arc. So again, if you're talking about a hunting rifle that you take out a couple times a year, that price difference is almost negligible and it doesn't matter at all. If you're talking about a PDW, a personal defense weapon that you're going to be trading with every single weekend, yeah, that price is going to add up, and it's going to add up quick, especially with cartridges not seeming to come down in price much, whether it's a 300 Blackout or 338 arc. Although, again, I do see 338 arc coming down in price over time because I think it's a valid cartridge and it's been doing a good job in the marketplace, especially with PSA backing it with different complete upper assemblies. The next thing I want to discuss is going to be terminal ballistics. Now, you are going to have better terminal ballistics with the 338 arc, but you have pretty decent terminal ballistics with 300 Blackout. Where it really changes is long distance shooting. If you're going to be taking this out past 100 yards, 338 arc is really going to shine. Because it's a heavier projectile, it's going to carry its weight a little bit further, it's going to hit a little bit harder at distance, and you're going to be able to take shots further than you would be with 300 Blackout. So something to consider. When you are looking at bullet drop over distance, you're going to have a little bit better performance out of the 338 arc. When you were looking at supersonic loads for hunting at a distance, you're going to get about 20 to 30 inches of drop with subsonic or supersonic 300 Blackout, but you only get about 16 to 28 inches of drop of 338 arc with the corresponding rounds. Now, that's not a ton of difference, but it does matter. It does matter when you're considering taking shots at 300 yards, so something to think about. Now, availability. With AAC starting to load this, Availability is actually pretty good on both 300 Blackout and 338 ARC. And every LGS that I walked into, specifically for this video, about half of them carried the 338 ARC. All of them carried the 300 Blackout. So if it's something that you just want to walk in and grab, again, in August of 2025, 300 Blackout's going to have it. So something to consider. But in summary, guys, I think 338 ARC is a very viable, hard-hitting cartridge that fits into an AR-15 lower receiver. I think it gives you a lot more versatility when it comes to shooting further, yet still shooting quiet up close. It's got a little bit more recoil, but it's got a little bit more power, and the availability is pretty decent, and the affordability is not going to be crippling if you're talking about something that you're not running 1,000 rounds through every weekend. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. For me, I think these are going to be two different cartridges. I don't think 338 ARC is going to replace 300 Blackout. 300 Blackout is going to be a great personal defense round with a ton of versatility, but that 338 ARC, if you need that little bit more oomph on target for hunting applications, or you really just want to knock something down up close, that one's going to be hard to beat as well. But again, please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.